The Cowboys have very high expectations going into 2021 thanks to an explosive offense, but there are plenty of questions surrounding Dallas, starting with Dak Prescott. The star passer was locked up to a long-term contract ahead of 2020, but only played 5 games before going down with a gruesome ankle injury. There are concerns about his ankle, but that isn't the biggest worry for Dallas, as Prescott plays in his first game in 333 days on Thursday. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, smack that like button so YouTube actually pushes out this video. Dak Prescott got off to an extraordinary start to his career, taking over for Tony Romo and leading the Cowboys to the playoffs as a rookie. He led the Cowboys to a winning record in 2 of the next 3 years before he was franchise tagged ahead of 2020. Prescott needed to make the most of his make-it-or-break-it season last year, but it didn't go according to plan. In Week 5, Dak Prescott rushed out of the pocket before he was pulled down by a Giants defender. In the exchange, his leg got lodged under the defender, and ultimately, he needed to get carted off of the field with a compound fracture and dislocation to his ankle. He went through rehab, and he believes his ankle is good to go. There are going to be a lot of questions about his health, and fans are certainly going to be holding their breath for that first big hit. But it's not the ankle that appears to be the most concerning ahead of Thursday night. During training camp, Prescott suffered a shoulder strain that set him back and caused him to miss the entire preseason. That happens, but the odd part was that he had to go back for another MRI, and the Cowboys' tweet about the procedure, well, it was less than optimal. It's not a setback, and it's not a reason to worry, but quarterback Dak Prescott is planning on getting another MRI. Now, I'm not necessarily the smartest guy in the world, but that seems like the #1 way to make your fan base panic. I'm now much more interested to see how his shoulder is holding up compared to an ankle injury that was almost a year ago. Despite not playing for most of the 2020 season, the Cowboys still rewarded Prescott with a 4-year, $160 million extension. The deal included a $66 million signing bonus, the largest in NFL history. So now, it's time to deliver. There's a lot of optimism that Dallas will be able to put it together with the return of Prescott, and that his absence led to a bad year, but that's not necessarily the truth. Ahead of his gruesome injury, the Cowboys were out to a 1-3 record that only included a win over the miserable Falcons in what was a 20-0 comeback. That should hinder some excitement, but there is plenty of reasons to be optimistic. Through 4 games, Prescott led the league in passing yards, and in his final contest against the Browns, he passed for over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Cowboys are going to feature one of the most talented offenses in the league, at least on paper. CeeDee Lamb had a fantastic rookie season, and he may pass Amari Cooper for the #1 role before we know it. Michael Gallup is technically the Cowboys' #3, which is not something you'd think you'd say about a guy who was only 150 yards off of 1,000 last year. Gallup is really just a solid #2 that's currently forced into a #3 role. The biggest worry people have about the Cowboys is their defense. They gave up 474 points on the year, the 5th most in the league and a new franchise record. Dallas was the 2nd worst rushing defense in the league, but it did go out and make a big hire in former Falcons head coach Dan Quinn. Plus, the Cowboys addressed the issue by adding 5 free agents and 6 draft picks. The big get was linebacker Micah Parsons, their first-round selection. The verdict on Dak Prescott over the last few years has been very up and down, and that's probably because he's the quarterback of the most valuable franchise in sports. For a while at the beginning of his career, I thought he was wildly overrated, yet somehow over the last few seasons, Dak has gotten into these underrated spot where he's getting a little bit more hate and people actually thinking he's not a good quarterback. As for right now, though, I'm not really sure where to put him. It's really hard to rate a guy that is coming off of such a big injury, especially now that he's already dealing with another one that's unrelated. From reports, it sounds like his ankle injury recovered perfectly normal, and he's 100% ready. But the weird shoulder injury gives me vibes of Andrew Luck when the Colts used to say that he was fine, or Carson Wentz when the Eagles would say the same thing. Dak Prescott is the #1 most important player on the Cowboys roster. We all saw how much worse that team was with Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci under center. I know you want Dak Prescott out there, especially in week 1, but if his shoulder isn't 100%, you shouldn't be rushing out your star quarterback who is coming off of a big injury. The Cowboys have done a fantastic job of building a stout offense around him. They should absolutely be one of the best in the league with that roster, but my doubts are still with the defense and whether or not Dallas will actually be good. It's going to be tough to win games if your defense is one of the worst in the league. Hopefully for them, Dan Quinn can maybe have the same effect that Todd Bowles did in Tampa Bay, where the personnel on the field didn't actually change that much, but the play was immediately upgraded mainly because of some scheme changes. Surprisingly, there are 2 teams in the NFC East that people actually think are going to be good this year, and it sounds like it is going to be a battle between Dallas and Washington. Now, those are 2 very, very opposite teams. Dallas is expected to rely on a dominant offense that is going to try to hold up a lacking defense. Meanwhile, Washington is going to have to put all of its marbles on its defense to carry a questionable offense. A lot of people are going to pick the Cowboys to win the NFC East, and it's probably the right decision. At the end of the day, always bet on the best quarterback. And right now, Prescott is easily the best in the division. Ryan Fitzpatrick is always suspect everywhere he goes. Daniel Jones hasn't been very good, and the same goes for the young Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. Dallas is going to benefit from the second easiest strength of schedule in the league, only behind Philadelphia. Its opponents only won 45.2% of their games in 2020. Meanwhile, Washington is plagued with the 15th hardest schedule. The Cowboys have a tough Week 1 draw in the defending Super Bowl champs, but the schedule gets way easier down the stretch with the Chargers, Eagles, Panthers, and Giants coming up right after. A very realistic 4-game win streak if the defense can actually hold up. Dak Prescott will suit up for the first time in about 11 months on Thursday night against Tom Brady's Buccaneers. There are huge expectations for Dallas in 2021, but it's nothing Prescott hasn't dealt with before. The injury concerns are sure to worry fans and cause plenty of uncertainty for the Cowboys, but if he can stay healthy, they have a shot for a very special year if all goes to plan. But can the defense hold up? And can Dak Prescott's shoulder hold up? Hey, thanks for sticking to the end of the video. If you don't already, go ahead and click right here to subscribe to the channel. If you don't want to, or you already do because you're freaking awesome, go ahead and click right here and watch another video. Also, make sure to check us out on social media for really cringy TikToks, really random Instagram posts, and weird Twitter rants, just because, you know, it's football season and it's time to consume our life with football.